Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So it's another day with another trending video. Let's get into it. So a group of South African refugees just landed in Dallas yesterday, but the twist is that these refugees don't look like the ones we're used to seeing in media coverage. In fact, many Americans are asking, are they really refugees or something else that we need to understand? So many white Americans are saying it loud and clear that they don't want them. So the white Americans are saying that this feels like betrayal because while these so-called refugees are being flown in and resettled, thousands, millions of Americans are homeless, jobless, and ignored. And here's the irony. Didn't Donald Trump on his very first day in office halt all refugee admissions? So to settle some records straight, a refugee is defined by the United Nations as someone who has been forced to flee their country because of persecution, war or violence. They have a well-founded fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. So that leads me to this question. Do these new arrivals fit that definition, or are we playing favorites here? This group of refugees were Black or Muslim or Central American. Would they have been welcomed the same way? Would they even have made it to the American soil? Let's watch these clips that I've gathered for you guys. I'm going to come back at the end of this video to give my own 2 cents. Let's watch this.
This video is for the white Afrikaners who are coming to the United States. I think you've already landed here. And I know that some of the folks who met you at the airport told you, welcome, we're so glad you're here. Most of us aren't glad you're here, okay? We don't want you here. We never wanted you here. And furthermore, I noticed they're gonna settle you in Idaho, Ohio, and North Carolina. I will tell you they're not our finest states, so they're a good fit for you. I understand that many of you are farmers, and I've seen a lot of people say, oh, that's great, we need more farmers. Sorry to say we don't. We actually need farm workers because we've deported most of them. So if you can, put your picking hat on and think about, picking produce, that's largely probably what you're going to be doing here because I hear you don't have a lot of skills. I would also say that you're not going to have to hold just one job, but probably 2 or 3 to make up for your quality of life that you had back in South Africa. There'll be no servants working for $2 a day. There's none of that here. So you're the servant who's working for $2 a day. So enjoy that. You're gonna have to pay for your health care, and ordinarily, because you're a refugee who's being discriminated against, you would go on Medicaid. But guess what? The Republicans just cut Medicaid. So I don't think you're gonna have that option for health care. So maybe you'll do without. I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. I did notice that the Episcopalian Church had a program with the government where they would, they would resettle and help, refugees resettle. They find you all to be so onerous, they terminated the partnership with the government. And they said, yeah, we won't be resettling those folks. Other things that you need to know about. While we are 58% white here in the United States, that's not going to last much longer. Within the next couple of years, we're going to be the minority, which will be fun for you because that's what you're used to. Interestingly enough, we have a ton of Latinos. We're the 2nd largest Spanish-speaking country in the world. So for you, if you could stop speaking that dirty, guttural, whatever it is, German, French, Dutch thing that you speak, that Afrikaans, nobody wants to hear that shit. So you can speak English or you can speak Spanish, which is really the 2nd language here. In terms of other things that you need to know about, the Black people in this country, they don't get fucked with, okay? I know that there's a long legacy of colonialism and all kinds of stuff happening in your country, but our Black folks have sort of been through the fire, if you will, and they're not gonna be fucked with. So you're the minority here. Enjoy. I really hope you like your time here. I'm gonna bet my ass that you're gonna be booking it back to SA probably within the next 12 months. Have a great day.
White people with less than $100,000 and that own a red hat. Make sense of this for me. America first, but make sense of this for me. The front half of a centaur that's running this country, there's a good joke about Elon being in the back half with a puppet, is currently expediting refugees from South Africa to America with short and long-term housing while you're still poor. Before they helped you, like anybody with less than 100 grand is poor. You're still poor. I know There's different levels. You're still in the group that is not their friend circle. Probably never will be. Likely will never be. Does it hurt or bother you that this group that's putting America first is now putting South Africans first, who, by the way, got there from where? Not America. They're actually Dutch, French, and German colonists. Make this one make sense to me. I feel like you can't just say, like, they're refugees, they need our help, because if that was the case, is it different because they're white? Just say that then. Just say that. What's that song by YG and Nipsey Hussle again?
I'm just really upset about something, and I want to delve into it real quick. Again, I know this isn't sports. I know some of you come here for sports. I respect that. But earlier today, a group of 50 white South Africans landed at Dulles International Airport as refugees. And they were welcomed into the United States under a humanitarian designation meant for those men and women fleeing war or persecution. And Trump has suspended this for all other groups everywhere in the world. And almost all of those other groups, or a huge majority, are people of color. And Donald Trump has allowed these 50 white South Africans into the United States because he says that there's a genocide in South Africa. And that is just actually not true. Trump said farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black, it makes no difference to me. And at the same time, you're watching people all over this country being round up. People almost exclusively who are of color being rounded up by ICE, taken into facilities, exported. But white people are being brought in from South Africa under the false pretense of they're facing this life or death discrimination. It is so fucked up. Like, it is so fucked up. If you don't think these people are racist, please understand this. No brown people are allowed in this country. We are not taking any refugees who happen to be brown. But these 50 white people from South Africa can come in. These 50 white people with their families and their history of apartheid can come in. We need to help the white people of South Africa, and we are allowing them into America. Think how fucking deranged that is. I'm being serious. Even if you're a Republican, even if you're pro low taxes, think how fucking deranged that is, that there are people in the Trump administration believe that the optics and the politics of this, what we need to do are save the white South Africans. And if you're like, this is great, this is so awesome, blah, 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 like, something is wrong with you. Like, something is actually wrong with you. This is the most racist, sinister shit I've seen done in the open by a politician in years. There's been racist, sinister shit done by both parties through the years. This is just, look, we're racist. Look, we're going to let the white people in, but no brown people in. But the white people, come on in. We want to save you. That's what this is. And if you're not paying attention, just Google it. Google South Africa and Trump. Google South Africa and white and America right now. I'm not exaggerating what's going on. It is fucked up and absolutely crazy and disgusting and disturbing, but on brand with this monster and his minions.
Trump is using tax dollars to import white people from South Africa who want to leave because apartheid's over and they're upset about that. And they want to come to the United States to participate in the new apartheid, the Trump administration. Facts. I think racism is bad now, dude. They are importing racists. They are importing straight up fucking racist, dude.
So an interesting thing happened today. In the midst of a very, very hardcore immigration policy where Trump is sending deputized ICE agents roaming the streets, not with any badges, not with any identification, sometimes wearing masks, ripping people off the street. It's that hardcore that they're doing everything they can to rid this country of illegal immigrants. Also, people who are actually a protected status are still getting taken out of this country and deported, and their protection status has been revoked. So in the midst of this very hardcore immigration policy, something interesting happened today. 59 white South Africans were granted refugee status, and they landed today in Washington, D.C. According to the administration, they were being persecuted in South Africa, and they had to flee. And so in the midst of this very hardcore immigration push, they were welcomed with open arms. Now, why, oh why, would that be? And what were the South Africans fleeing from? What could it be? So they are undoing years and years and decades of racist policies in South Africa, apartheid. And the white South Africans who came over here had to flee because they didn't like the new anti-racist laws in South Africa. That's not fleeing the country because you are in physical danger. That's called, I like the old racist policies. So I'm interested to hear MAGA Nation on this topic. You guys have been so hardcore that not only are illegal immigrants not allowed in here, even people who are not criminals, who are getting swept up, people who have been protected in a protected class are being swept up. Well, they shouldn't be here. You know, when people who have been brought here when they were 4 years old and they're driving in the car and they make a wrong turn, they are sent and deported. A student who has a student visa puts an op-ed in the paper criticizing the government. They are threatened and almost deported. If it wasn't for the judges, there would be so many other people already out of here who are not criminals. So this whole thing, we know that's not what this is about. Okay, so MAGA Nation, how do you justify bringing these refugees from South Africa in here? Like, what's your justification? Be interested to hear.
About getting rid of illegal immigrants. It was never about getting rid of criminals. It was about upholding the white majority in the country. It's about filling the country with as many white people as possible. It's a bunch of fragile American racists who are scared that their skin color is no longer going to be the majority in the country. We are a disgrace of a nation. We're infiltrating Mexican restaurants. We're sending Mexican American citizens with no criminal record to El Salvador with zero due process, but they're rolling out the red carpet for white South Africans. That's where we're at right now. This was never about getting rid of immigrants. This was never about making neighborhoods safer. It was about making America white again. My last remaining reason to be proud to be an American was the diversity of this country. And now our current administration is trying to Aryan race this motherfucker. I will never decorate my house with an American flag as long as I live, and I'm the brother of a dead Marine. It was
For anyone who has any problems with refugees, I do not want to hear you talk about the South African white refugees and be like, they're coming here legally, it's fine, because their own government even says that they are not vetted. While Donald Trump says that they are completely vetted, that's 100% untrue, according to the South African government. They also said that the people that claim that they are being genocided are actually pro-apartheid, and that's why they're moving to the United States. And they're saying straight up that it is a move for political advantage. The South African government also came out and said that it's really ironic that Trump is allowing the most economically privileged people from around the world to enter the United States while denying the most vulnerable people who are trying to immigrate to the United States. Like, let's be clear here. These people are becoming refugees to the United States specifically because they are upset that people are upset in South Africa, that they are pro-apartheid. And yet Donald Trump will not accept any refugees that are actually coming here for detrimental circumstances. Again, it's just racism. That's all it is.
Call out Donald Trump for being a huge hypocrite. Imagine that. Donald Trump, a hypocrite. Donald Trump, I thought we weren't accepting any refugees from any part of the world. Donald Trump, how is it possible that you gave an order for the State Department to make arrangements to send a plane to South Africa to pick up South African refugees? And Donald, they all look pretty pasty. They all look, you know, definitely that pasty color. I got to be careful when we talk about colors. And, I mean, I know y'all may not remember, but Crayola used to have that 64 box of every color in the world. And there's only one color in that Crayola box of 64 that Donald Trump seems to like. And any other color in that box of crayons, Donald Trump doesn't seem to like. My Latinos, I want to understand this. Now, he's accepting refugees from South Africa. And who else is from South Africa? Elon Musk? Interesting. But any other refugees from Central America, South America, Latin America, any other Caribbean country, Ukraine, you name it, especially those from south of the border, we're trying to deport them and send them out, reject their TPS, cancel their TPS as fast as we can, even when they're law-abiding people. But South Africans, especially those really pasty ones, that one color in the crayon box of 64, there's one color Donald Trump doesn't seem to have a problem with using that color in that crayon box. You know which one it is. What do you think? What is Donald Trump's favorite Crayola color? We all know what it is. Look at the South Africans. You'll know the answer. So my Latinos, y'all going to keep up this voting in 2026 and 2028? Yep. You going FAFO too? Yep. What do y'all think? Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned out light bulbs, and all my Latinos, all of y'all that voted for Trump. You see how he does you and your people? You weren't in that box of Crayola crayons that he picked out. He just picked out one color that he liked for his favorite color to color with. Kind of the color of paper, most paper. And you didn't fit that, I guess. Love to hear from everybody.
Sending private planes to pick up 8,000 Caucasian South African refugees when we're kicking people out that are in the middle of their immigration proceedings here in the U.S. now. Literally having people show up for their final steps of their immigration process and having them arrested, detained, and deported. Doesn't make any sense to me unless...
So a bizarre story coming out of the White House. So Donald Trump has chartered a plane to go to South Africa, and for any white South Africans that would like to come to the United States and seek refugee status, he's allowing that. This in despite of the fact that Trump has suspended refugee processing earlier this year. So I guess that if you're white and you're South African, I guess that rule doesn't apply to you. Folks, my name is Nick. Love you guys to give me a follow. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Sources MSNBC.
Is this racism? Today, Trump welcomed a group of South African refugees into America. But on his first day in office, he essentially halted all refugee admissions programs into the country, which were mostly brown-skinned people. What do you notice about the skin color of every one of these people? Is this racism? Let me know in the comments below.
In case you're wondering whether there's any racism in the Trump administration, consider this wild fact. So you know how they've basically stopped anybody from coming to the United States claiming refugee status? Well, they've decided to put an asterisk on that, and they're going to allow 8,000 South Afrikaners to come here as refugees. Those are white people, by the way. So why are the white South Africans allowed to be classified as refugees and come to the United States, but a refugee from El Salvador is not allowed to, or a refugee from Panama, or a refugee from Peru? Why aren't they allowed? Well, I'll give you it's one thing. They're brown, those South Africans are white. There is very little evidence that these Afrikaners are being persecuted at home. The government's saying, we're not doing anything. No one else seems to be able to confirm that fact. Yet the Trump administration is going to leapfrog those 8,000 Afrikaners into the United States in front of everybody else. Now, I would assume that all of the Trump supporters who are against all refugees coming to the United States are going to be outraged about this, right? Right?
Okay, so here we are again. So according to the information that I got, about 49 or 59 refugees, white South African, Afrikaans speaking, landed in the United States yesterday. Not a month ago, not a week ago, yesterday, guys. And they didn't just happen to land No, this wasn't a normal visa or immigration process. There was no long waiting, the way it happens in Africa. Normally, if you're applying for a visa for the US, you have to wait months you have to spend a lot of money, no rigorous visa processing, no refugee camps, no border holding cells. Instead, these folks had an entire plane chartered just for them, flew straight from South Africa to America like VIPs, no fuss, no drama, picked up and delivered with a level of care and coordination we've never seen. This is a first. Well, I think we all know the answer to that. It's because these guys matched a certain narrative, a certain image, a certain look that made the system move faster than we've ever seen before. That is quite shocking. Personally, a lot of black folks are not shocked at this. We expect this, we know these things anyway. And let's not forget that Donald Trump halted all refugee admissions on day one of his presidency. Not just one, he didn't specify of which country. He halted all, like no refugees. And yet in 2025, here we are watching a select group of white South African refugees land comfortably, quietly, and welcomed right in the middle of a nationwide crisis, the mass deportations and all that. We are talking about a country where homeless encampments stretch across the entire city blocks, where American veterans sleep under bridges, where single mothers are being evicted with no safety net. And in that same country, the US government finds the same money, finds the time, the money, the compassion to fly in refugees who frankly, don't even fit the traditional definition of a refugee. And if you're going to make the argument, well, we should take care of our own first, right? And then at the very least, start with the millions of struggling Americans who already live there. Start with the homeless, start with the jobless, start with the veterans. Even if you wanted to start with at least struggling white Americans, at least, that would have made some, internal sense. But to import people from halfway across the world during a time when immigrants who've been here, who've been in the US are getting deported at a mass number, big numbers, that is just confusing. That's borderline insulting. And that's why a lot of white Americans themselves are speaking out loud, not because of a schism against their own, but because of reality, because their government just showed them exactly where their priorities lie. So when your own citizens see refugees, white or not, being flown in or chartered on chartered planes, resettled with funding, housing, legal assistance, and meanwhile, their kids can't afford a school lunch or rent. That's not it's not just a policy failure. That's a slap in the face. Yeah. These newcomers matter more than you do. That is what a lot of white folks, white American folks, because now we have we need to be differentiating between the two. We have Afrikaans and white Americans. And let's not even get into the money, because the cost of chartering those planes, setting up housing, legal processing, and whatever else was involved in this rapid relocation effort, that money could have gone directly onto American communities, into mental health service, into drug rehab centers, into schools, into infrastructure, into the forgotten towns across that country, that are crumbling from neglect. Yeah. But no, instead, they decided this was more urgent because these Africans are allegedly being prosecuted in South Africa. Of course, there's no evidence of that anyway. And here's the real kicker. So according to word on the street, alone may be behind this entire operation. That's right. We all know this, South African by birth, billionaire by profit, and possibly the master that's starting to look less like a mission and more like a strategic But that, trust me, that's a story for another day. So what do we do with all this information, guys? Well, first, we think, we talk, and finally, let's hold people accountable. I know this is not a black business. This is none of our business, okay? Because America has made one thing, crystal clear. When the face fits the narrative, the doors swing open. But when you're poor, black, brown, or even a working class white American, suddenly the system is out for money, out of time, out of empathy. You guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Is this just a coincidence? Of course, we know the answer. Or is there a bigger agenda playing out right in our eyes? We know the answer to that too. Just that we can't put it here. We all know the answers to these questions. Well, I'll be reading all your comments, and trust me, I'll be coming back to this topic because this isn't over yet, not by a long shot. So if you appreciated the honesty in this video, please go ahead, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss the next video that I'm gonna be uploading. This is a sign off for me. Please stay aware, stay alert, and most importantly, stay peaceful. And please, I'll keep saying this in every video that I upload. As a black person, stay out of protesting. We are resting. Sometimes I feel like I'm a black American. Am I invited to the cookout? Yes, I'm in Africa. You're welcome to come to Africa. I know you've heard a lot of stuff about Africa, but Africa is big. Anyway, that's a story for another day. I will definitely see you in my next video. Please stay peaceful.